Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a gaming news wrap-up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's video comes once again earlier in the week than usual because we've had some big Diablo leak. It's official, Diablo 3 is coming to Nintendo Switch, and this is excellent news whether you care about D3 on Nintendo Switch or not, and we'll explain why in this video. Other topics we'll include in this video are the new Path of Exile League, as well as the new Torchlight game. That's right, this week's video is an action RPG extravaganza. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the video description if you would like to skip ahead, but right before you do that, just a quick reminder that if you'd like to get your name on the Rikers Raiders 2018 t-shirt or poster, you got 2 weeks left to do that. In our first story, there's a new Torchlight game that'll be coming out in 2019, titled Torchlight Frontiers. I encourage you to check out the reveal trailer. As always, links can be found in the video description. And while Runic Games, the original developer of Torchlight 1 and 2, shut down last year, this new game is announced by Perfect World Entertainment and developer Ectra Games. Ectra Games is being led by Torchlight co-founder Max Schaefer, as in the Schaefer brothers, as in some of the fathers of Diablo, so there is a good pedigree there. And Torchlight Frontiers takes place in the same universe as the previous two Torchlight games. The upcoming game is said to, quote, combine the heart of the beloved Torchlight series with a shared, persistent, and dynamically generated world. Max Schaefer had this to say: evolving the Torchlight universe into a shared world has always been a goal for the franchise, and I'm excited that we're finally able to make it a reality. Torchlight Frontiers will be a living, breathing universe that will feel uniquely Torchlight, while we add our own creative spin to the game. The team is building something truly special, and we can't wait for fans to play it for the first time at Gamescom and PAX West. Gamescom is coming up next week, so looks like we'll have a lot more news about this upcoming title. Torchlight 2 released around the same time as Diablo 3, only a few months later. And I was working as a video game journalist at the time. I wrote a review for Diablo 3 and I wrote a review for Torchlight 2. And my review for Torchlight 2 gave the game a higher score than Diablo 3. Torchlight 2 at launch was a better game than Diablo 3 was at launch. Diablo 3 has come a long way, has become a much better game than it was. But if you've never tried out Torchlight 2 and you're looking for another action RPG to play, it might be something worth picking up on sale at some point. On to some Path of Exile news. The new league, Delve, has been announced. Set to start on August 31st, Delve's hook is an infinite dungeon. The deeper into the dungeon you go, the more difficult it gets, and therefore we mean infinite scaling. You'll eventually get to a point where you're facing a difficulty harder than current endgame maps. There's even a depth ladder that tracks who has delved deepest into the mines. So I basically see this as Path of Exile's take on Diablo 3's Greater Rifting system. It is a competitive ranked mode meant to take you to difficulties greater than what is normally available in the game, but it has some really unique hooks to it. Darkness plays a huge role. You have to stay in the light. If you go into the dark, if you delve into the darkness for too long, the darkness will kill you. It literally does damage to you. Basically, as you're going through this dungeon, there's this machine called the Crawler that travels alongside you, supplying light, and laying behind it a path of light bulbs on wires. If you leave the light of the Crawler for too long, then you'd best have some flares with you if you want to go off explore on your own. And if you do go off exploring on your own, you should also bring some dynamite to try to blast holes in walls to reveal secret passages, hidden rooms where you can find loot. Again, it's this risk versus reward exploration thing where you're always concerned about getting caught in the dark. Now, in short, this is sort of an escort-like mechanic, given that you have to be following along with this Crawler, and escort mechanics in games are generally not well received by players, so it's a risky move, and we'll have to see if it pays off. But the devs did later reassure us in an FAQ with, quote, the base speed of the walker is proportional to your run speed. For example, if you use a Quicksilver flask, that speed increases. The Crawler can also move faster than your run speed if you get in front of it via movement skills. In other words, if you run too far ahead, the Crawler will speed up to catch up with you. All of this is really not important because the monsters are hard enough that the challenge is not being left behind. You're not escorting the Crawler, it's escorting you. So overall, Delve League is looking really cool. As I was watching that reveal video, I found myself getting very excited about these mechanics. And I was just sitting there thinking, this is what innovation looks like. But wait, there's more! For those who really liked Incursion League, we got some news on that mode coming officially to the main game. The GGG devs stated, due to the Incursion League being such a success, we have worked out a plan to add it to the core game. This will be included in December's 3.5.0 update, not in the September Delve release. Alright, on to Diablo news. We had a big leak happen this week. Diablo 3 for Nintendo Switch has been confirmed. A Forbes article went up on Wednesday, basically covering the talking points in what appeared to be a press release about the full details on D3 on Switch. Then minutes later, the article was erased, but there were remnants of it still left on Apple News, so people were able to view it and grab screenshots. And then those screenshots were being taken down by Imager. It's just this scorched earth campaign trying to cover up what was clearly a huge oopsie. And then later, Kotaku posted an article basically confirming that yes, this news is true and that Forbes jumped the gun. You see, what happens in gaming journalism, in any journalism really, probably, or I don't know, I can only speak to gaming journalism having worked in the field. You get news, you get certain reveals with an embargo date. In other words, I, a publisher of video games, and giving you this secret information. You cannot breathe a word of this until this day at this specific hour. And I give this to multiple different outlets so that they all post their stories simultaneously. No one gets to be first, because the first person when breaking news always gets an enormous advantage. What appears to have happened is that there was some screw up, the embargo date was not respected. The embargo date was meant to be today. Today is Thursday, I'm recording this on Wednesday, but let's pretend today is Thursday, which is when the embargo is meant to lift, so we're probably going to see the full news emerge, even though we already know the full news. But because Forbes broke the story first accidentally, they just screwed over every other outlet. They've probably now been blacklisted by Blizzard. But let's get into the full details of what this Switch release entails. From the post, we see that the Switch port will launch later this year. That means 2018. The Switch version will be called the Eternal Collection, and it'll include Reaper of Souls and Rise of the Necromancer pack, all bundled together for $60. It'll also include special Nintendo exclusive in-game bonuses, the Legend of Ganondorf cosmetic armor set, Triforce portrait frame, chicken pet, and Echoes of the Mask cosmetic wings. And in these screenshots here, you can see the wings, and you can see the Ganondorf armor. For this to have been faked would have been pretty difficult, and again, we have confirmation from Kotaku, an independent source, a reputable source, regardless of how some people may feel about their specific slant, and we also know that the Nintendo Switch version of the game can be played in several different ways, including docked or on the go. Up to 4 players can play together on a single Switch. Up to 4 players can play on 4 different Switch units wirelessly without an internet connection. And players can also team up online with the Nintendo Switch Online service, which launches in September. There will be cloud saving support for the game as well. The author goes on to say, hopefully we'll hear more from those who had a chance to actually play the game. There was an event I was invited to, but could not attend. There was an invite-only event. Now, worthy of note is that Gamescom is next week, so perhaps there will be a playable demo at next week's Gamescom. Now, it was back in February that Blizzard made the infamous Diablo light switch post, which some people interpreted as a sign of Diablo 3 coming to Nintendo Switch. And back in early March, Eurogamer came out, amongst other sources, claiming that sources close to them had confirmed that a Nintendo Switch port for Diablo 3 would be coming. So overall, this Diablo 3 Nintendo Switch port is not coming as a major surprise, but what is the major surprise is that this news comes now and not at BlizzCon. It was just last week that Diablo community manager Nevelistis came out and said that there are multiple Diablo projects in the works. So if they're revealing the Nintendo Switch port for Diablo 3 now, then what are they saving for BlizzCon? When I first heard the rumors about Diablo 3 on Nintendo Switch, my first reaction was, oh no, I hope this isn't going to be the only BlizzCon reveal. Since then, I've come around and have embraced the idea of playing Diablo 3 on Nintendo Switch, but now, this news that, nope, we got something else coming for a BlizzCon announcement. This is just great. Now we'll quickly discuss a 4chan leak, an alleged leak on 4chan, that is of pretty dubious quality. Someone claiming to be a mid-level developer at Blizzard didn't ask me anything on 4chan. Amongst a lot of World of Warcraft discussion came some Diablo news leaks. He claims that a Diablo 1 remaster is coming. He claims that Diablo 2019 is going to be nothing like the old Diablos. He claims, we know no one will buy Diablo 2019 if it's the same thing as before. We're rebranding the franchise to save it. He claims that 2019 is the estimated release date, and there are no classes in the game. You have a fixed protagonist. He goes on to compare it to a game like The Witcher 3 or God of War. He claims, quote, we're expecting the game to go down very well with fans. And he also states that we're looking to pretty much dominate every major genre, and with Diablo's announcement and release coming up, we're set to rival even Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Now take all this with a grain of salt. I don't put a lot of faith in this post. He goes on to make some claims that suggest that a next-gen console port for World of Warcraft will release, when we have quite a bit of evidence to suggest that the Warcraft devs have stated that they're never going to bring World of Warcraft to console. But I guess in a few months we'll know for sure. As for our weekly job post update, no updates this week. There are still the same dozen-plus job postings up for the unannounced Diablo project. And that's going to wrap up this week's video, but if you haven't seen last week's video where we talk about Blizzard's official confirmation of multiple Diablo projects in the works, I encourage you to check that out. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch and Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider becoming a Royal Raider on Patreon, where your support is immensely appreciated. We've got a variety of backer rewards, including behind-the-scenes stuff, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more gaming content.